Another edition of Dark Power, where we talk about everything that happens on AEW Dark, AEW Elevation, and of course NWA Powerrr. We had a nice little main event this week in NWA Powerrr, and a little bit of something that we predicted. So let's get straight to it, guys. I'll see you on the other side. Alrighty, guys, we got a lot to get to, so we're going to get straight to it. But right before I do, remember to hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe. If you have not already, it allows us to keep doing all the things that we are doing for you. And if you have not already, consider joining our Patreon. We just launched our Patreon recently, and we're already seeing some great engagement from you guys, and we appreciate every single thing that you do. It's just the next evolution. It's the next step in the process, right? And we are continuing to build out our library of shows, all the different things that we do. So we appreciate the support, and we know that you guys will continue to support as we move forward. So let's talk about Elevation. Oh man, this was a rough episode of AEW Elevation, because they are taking, it seems like they are taking, at least right now, they are taking Elevation and turning it into what Dark was. Whereas the flip side is they're taking Dark and turning it into what Elevation was. Dark's now getting longer matches, which in a way kind of makes sense because they have their own dedicated crowd at Universal Studios. But Elevation, they're doing quick matches, and it's almost because while they do have the crowd, they're trying not to tire them out, particularly because when they do have live crowds, they not only need to tape Elevation, but they need to do a live episode of Dynamite, and they need to tape another hour of Rampage. And Rampage has meaty matches or meaty segments. So I understand, trying to move quickly through the Elevation stuff. So maybe they should have switched it a little bit and done Elevation at Universal Studios and given the longer form matches. Or, I don't know, maybe the names aren't going to fit really what the theme of the show is. But as it stands, this was a rough episode of Elevation. Matches just moved really quickly. Everything was 2 minutes. There were a couple 3-minute matches. Nothing too crazy to write home about. Whereas on Dark, there were a few things that stood out to me. First and foremost is this nice match here between Sky Blue and Maddie Rankowski. Sky Blue is continuing to develop. I believe she is under contract now, and that's something that we like to see. She is a talent in the ring. She is somebody that they are working with and developing, and I think that obviously I'm a little biased, the Chicago connection, but she is somebody that has a lot of promise and can be a strong babyface for the future of the women's division. Not somebody necessarily who gets the title, especially not immediately or even in the near future, but somebody who can be a good challenge for a heel champion. And that's something that heel champions definitely need. They need convincing baby faces to play off of. Both sides always need their foil. Speaking of which, they're in a match itself, you need somebody who is talented in the ring working against you. And that's exactly what Eddie Kingston has this week when he went up against Anthony Henry. Anthony Henry has a lot of potential, and this was a great, I think it was his debut. Yeah, it was his debut match. He put Eddie Kingston through the ringer, and I think that Eddie was willing to go a little bit above and beyond for somebody like Anthony Henry, and it showed, because a lot of times Eddie does have the ability to just shut people down very quickly. He is a legit kind of fighter, and here you can tell that he kind of is trying to make the best of this moment for Anthony Henry, because I'm sure that Eddie remembers what his moment was like when he made his debut with Cody for that TNT title, and Cody put him over. Even though Eddie lost, it was a way of putting him over. Eddie is now trying to return the favor for Anthony Henry. So kudos to both men for having a really, really good job. But let's talk about this week's NWA Powerrr, right? We used to have Eddie Kingston on NWA Powerrr. Now we have him on AEW. Let's talk about who we have now on NWA Powerrr. So this week's episode starts with a promo from Camille, an interview. She's at the interview desk, and she doesn't really want to talk about the issues in Strictly Business. What happened last week with Aldis coming out to make the save for Tim Storm when Tim was being confronted by Adonis and Latimer. And then she has some choice words for Melina regarding the potential Melina versus Camille match for the NWA Women's Championship. She leaves. Trevor Murdoch shows up. Murdoch does kind of a rehash of everything we've been seeing with him and Jax Dane. Pope then shows up and does the honorable thing of saying, when I do challenge you for the World Championship, I'm going to do it to your face, unlike Jax Dane, who kind of has been taking underhand tactics. After this, we have our opening match of the night, and here we have our tag champs going up against Ill Begotten, which is Yuma and Freeman, and Slice Boogie and Marche Rocket. This is a Lucha Scramble match, which I thought was kind of an interesting concept in that the teams, there are 3 teams, and it's a triple threat. But when someone gets pinned, the whole team is not eliminated, just that individual person. The team continues. And so you eventually have to have, 5 eliminations, if you think about it. Ultimately, you could have 5 eliminations. The minimum you can have is 4 eliminations. So here we have this match. It's a pretty good match. Something I thought I would say when I have that Yuma guy in this match. The only other thing that I wanted to add about this match was that our tag champs do win. Yuma's the first person eliminated. Then I think it was one of the tag champs. I think it was Mecha Wolf. No. Yeah, it was Mecha Wolf. And, it continues going back and forth. Bestia is going to be the last man standing. But one thing that was kind of interesting and a little confusing to me was that the last time we saw our tag champs, they specifically said they were leaving until the NWA brought them more competition. Now they're back, and the competition they're going up against are people who are in, or were for one of the teams, in the tag tournament to determine who are going to be the new contenders. But I don't know. That's we'll have to see how exactly that works out, because why would you leave and then suddenly come back? It doesn't really make sense to me, but I don't know. See how it works, because we know, obviously the audience knows that they didn't leave because they're still at the chase, but I don't know. It just a little bit of continuity would have been nice. And a lot of times NWA does do a pretty good job with continuity, and this was not one of those times. After this, we have an interview with Stevens and Kratos. Again, more of the same of Kratos, just kind of giving that tough love to Stevens about everything that's been going on between them as when they were tag champions and now that they've lost the tag titles, everything that's been going on there. Just keeping it moving, seeing what's going on in there. And speaking of keeping it moving, the next match that we have is James Storm taking on Jedias. And this was kind of a weird one in that Jedias is kind of beating up on old James Storm throughout the whole match. And then James Storm kind of hits a miracle last call super kick. Last shot is Cole's super kick, but he hits a last call super kick, and that alone is able to put Jedias away and give Jedias his first pinfall loss in the NWA. Just seems a little weird. I don't know. That threw me off a little bit, because we're expecting, especially because Jedias has that, he won that battle royal. He has that NWA championship, NWA national championship title shot in his back pocket. We know that he was going back and forth with Storm. Why? Because when you have that title shot in your back pocket. Also, Storm said that he wanted that national championship match opportunity put on the line. It was not on the line this time. It was not on the line last week. Storm wins, but what really does Storm win? Nothing really. But I guess the idea is James Storms is always willing to fight. After this, we have an interview desk segment with Kylie and Lady Frost. They're supposed to have a match, and there's a little bit of a back and forth between the two of them. Kylie's always just happy to be there. Lady Frost is calm, cool, and collected. Mainly cool, but also calm and collected. But not calm, not cool, not collected is Allison Kay. She shows up with Marty Bell. This we kind of not anticipated, but we knew something had to happen because Lady Frost got involved in the match last week with Allison Kay and Genocide, costing Allison Kay the match and getting Genocide and Paola those tag title shots. We were wondering last week, why is Lady Frost getting involved? And here Allison Kay rightly asks that question and says, you had nothing to do with any of this. Why are you bothering with this situation? But if you want to bother with it, we can bother with it and we can have a match. And Kylie's saying, well, what about me? And let's make this triple threat. So they do make it a triple threat. And it's a quick match. Some good key spots. Allison Kay doing a couple great shows of strength. And this was a nice moment where she's got Frost up for a kind of a wheelbarrow sort of suplex thing here. She's having to deadlift her. Later, she's going to have to deadlift Kylie as well for the suplex. But good match. Kylie's the one who's going to be able to come away with the win here. She had AK in her submission move. AK would not tap. And then later she gets a moment where she can put Frost into the submission move, and Frost taps immediately. After this, we have another interview segment. They gotta switch it up a little bit, but I guess maybe filming backstage was a little bit difficult for this set of tapings. But we have Saul, Renato, and Mims, who are one half of the semifinals, and Hawks Airy, who I believe are their opponents. They're doing a little bit of a promo segment ahead of their match. Their match wasn't supposed to happen this week, but they're doing just a promo segment about the match itself. They get interrupted by Tyrus and his crew. Tyrus is saying it's a little bit of a rehash here about he doesn't really give a shit about what the crowd thinks about him and his title defenses, which he believes are on the up and up. Obviously, clearly not on the up and up, especially because next week he's going to be facing Jordan Clearwater, who is in his camp. I will say, though, that Tyrus had the line of the night because the crowd starts booing him. And he, let's not forget, Tyrus is a contributor on the Fox network and on the Fox, They're not streaming. It is a streaming service, but they're Fox Plus, Fox Network Plus. And he's getting upset that they're booing him, and he's like, I thought this was a red state. And he goes off a little bit on them. But that's not his great line, which ends up being the line of the night to me. They're booing him, and he goes, I know what you cheer for. Your boos give me self-esteem. A great line. Nothing that I thought Tyrus could come up with, especially on the fly. So I gotta say, as much as I don't really like Tyrus, and I find him boring in the ring and slow and just out of it, I got to give credit where credit's due. That's a great line. So that was a great moment for him. But finally, we have our and this one was a little tough. This one was a little tough. We have our main event. Our main event is Nick Aldis teaming with Tim Storm against Adonis and Latimer. So Strictly Business versus the leader of Strictly Business teaming with Tim Storm. The match itself is good, actually, which, we kind of expect. And after the match happens where Tim Storm takes the bulk of the damage and then Aldis comes in, clears house, and is able to get the win, Latimer is beside himself. He is absolutely beside himself. This is the moment where Aldis comes in, starts clearing house, and is going to get that win over Latimer. But how? Oh, okay. So I gotta give credit to Latimer. He sold the loss bothering him and affecting him very, very well. Sitting in the corner there, just losing it. Aldis comes up, gives him the hand to pull him up. They talk it out. They shake hands. Tim Storm comes over, talks it out with Latimer, shakes hands. They hug. Adonis rolls in the ring and low blows the shit out of Tim Storm, and I was like, "Oh no!" Because I was hoping that this was going to be a moment where they would tease it. They would tease it, let it last another week, the tension, maybe another 2 weeks. But no, they wanted to go straight to it, and that's fine. We were talking about this last week about what would be the issues between Latimer and Adonis versus Nick Aldis, and where Camille would fall. And Latimer and Adonis then low blow Nick Aldis. Latimer starts beating up on Tim Storm and Nick Aldis. He gets a chair, starts wailing on Nick Aldis and Tim Storm. And the ending of this episode is Nick Aldis being stretchered out. And who is ringside to see this? His wife, Mickie James. My goodness. Strictly Business is no more. At least the iteration that we knew it to be is no more. Where Camille is going to come out of all of this, it looks like she did leave with Latimer, and it looks like she's going to be on Latimer's side. I mean, that makes sense. That is your fiance. But we were talking about this last week about what it would mean for Camille to no longer have the, not safety net, but the ability to rely on Aldis as somebody there for her. Shows a lot of trust, shows a lot of growth. Trust me, NWA, growth on behalf of Camille. I think she's ready for it. She's been showing a lot of development. Aldis Latimer is going to be a really good pay-per-view match. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to seeing how this story plays out. It's going to lead to some great Aldis promos. He's always been really, really good on the mic. And that's what I want to see from Latimer. Because now, the fully cemented, the top heel in the company is Jack Stane and Thom Latimer. It feels a little weird because a part of me feels as though Aldis should win the feud. Especially coming off of that loss against Trevor Murdoch and losing the title after 1,000+ days. He needs a bounce back statement win. But at the same time, Latimer beating Aldis really does cement him and does make him a really, really valid and valuable challenger for Trevor Murdoch. So how it plays out is something that I'm really interested to see. And it's got me looking forward to next week. So guys, that's going to bring this week's review to a close. We got to talk about next week, that's what I'm saying. It leads one thing into another. And now I'm looking forward to next week. I hope you guys are too. And I hope you guys are with me every step of the way as we have these reviews here on True Heel Heat. Once again, hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe. We appreciate the support. Please consider joining our Patreon. We welcome everybody. And you guys can catch me on Fusion of Honor with my co-host three-time baby-making champ Ness as we review MLW Fusion and Ring of Honor. So guys, until next time, remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'll catch you later, and let's see how this storyline plays out. I thought they were gonna maybe hopefully tease it for a couple weeks, but Billy Corgan wanted to go immediately into it. So let's see how it goes. Until next